Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run.
Hi, welcome to Be My Guest. This is Jan Lewis. Beautiful spring day today, and we have with us Raymond Tatten, and he is the author of And Another Thing, Just Saying. Ray just joined us from Sterling. Welcome, Ray. And this is your first book.
It is.
It looked like he'd been writing books for years.
It is.
What made you decide? Tell us about how you decided to write it.
Well, I have been writing essays for a number of years. I participate in Seven Bridge Writers Collaborative.
Seven?
It's Seven Bridge Writers Collaborative in Lancaster at the library, hosted at the library.
Okay.
And there are various writing groups there. So I stumbled into that 5 or 6 years ago. I've been going ever since. So on Thursday nights, the nature of the group is the facilitator, the teacher, gives us a prompt. So we have a few days to do it. So you bring it to class, you read it, and everybody goes around and critiques it. So I had, a few dozen, 30, 40, 50 little essays. Some of them were pretty good. Yeah. So I sent a few out to literary journals and started getting some of them published. So I had some success there with that size essay. So they're on thumb drives, like I said in the book, they're all over the house on paper, thumb drives, wherever. So I thought I have a couple of manuscripts in mind that I was trying to get published, and I haven't had any luck. So I got more aware, and
you self-published.
I got more aware of that, how that works now, the technology, and I went to a class. You know Lisa Shea.
Yo, I do. She's one of our favorite guests.
I saw some classes, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go investigate it. Yeah. And I came home thinking, that's not too hard. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I figured I'll do that. I'll pick out some of my best essays. I'll put them together.
Yeah.
I'll never get an agent for it, so I'll just self-publish it. And then when I learn how to do it, I'll go back and tackle the other two manuscripts, and that was my plan.
Yeah.
So, as I said before we started, I had no real idea or how to market or what to do or all that, but I just wanted the feeling of, I got excited about the idea of holding a book that I had done.
Oh, yeah. On the back, you've got two great pictures here. One on the back and the one on the front. What kind of cap? Is that your sailor's cap, or is that Boston Red Sox?
That's Red Sox.
This is his first collection on Another Thing, Just Saying. Ray offers 35 essays, stories and musings with topics as diverse as the childhood loss of his pony. He's going to tell us about this. High school days, parenthood, and his new senior discount. Even finding trouble and two bad things. Many of the essays are responses to writing group prompts, which he just shared with us, while others are a reaction to current events, life questions, or refreshed memories. Now, in the very beginning of the book, quoting from John Lennon and John Steinbeck, I love this, I earmarked it. The thing the 60s did was to show us the possibilities and the responsibilities that we all had. It wasn't the answer, it just gave us a glimpse of the possibility, and that's by John Lennon. And John Steinbeck wrote, "It's a hard thing to leave any deeply routine life, even if you hate it."
Yeah. I think that's a boomer talking right there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, we're going to go right down the line. The one that's bad, I love the one about gone fishing. Tell us about gone fishing.
Well, it's funny, first of all, to say this, of the people who have read the book, they generally say they like it. And everybody's got a different favorite, which is surprising to me.
No, it's not. No,
I guess that's probably
very usual.
But that is a chapter, a stripped down chapter of. I've got a book that I wrote, and it's kind of a memoir. It's about me as an 8-year-old boy, and there were a lot. That's how this whole thing kind of started. I can go back to that if you want, and that's a chapter in the manuscript that I have that I plan to publish, and so that really happened. And it was a longer essay, so I decided that I would try to send that out to some literary journals or magazines or whatever. So I had to strip it down, and that's the stripped down version of the chapter. So that's what happened. So
what about your pony? Tell her what happened.
Well, I have to tell you this pony story.
Yes.
So as the book says, when my daughter was 8, I used to play basketball. I used to enjoy that. So I had her in basketball. And so one day she told me she didn't want to play anymore. So I was pretty bummed about it. So she wanted to do horseback. So to shorten the story, when I was at the stable with her, you know, I'd be patting the ponies and talking to the horses and all that, and the smells and whatever. And I started, you know, thinking about my own childhood when I had a pony. So I had that going on in my mind, and stronger than I guess I knew. So a few weeks later, I was at the Sterling Library. They had a book review, and we read the book. We came in. It was about 7 or 8 of us there, and we had to talk about the book. Well, at the end of the book, the teacher, Lex Thomas, surprised, said, "Oh, she passed out paper." She goes, "You know what the scariest thing for a writer is a blank piece of paper." She goes, "I'm going to challenge you now. Let's start our own story."
Yeah.
So everybody started writing like they were, you know, I was sitting there and they were like going.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to get up and run.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So I kept writing, scratching out, writing. I came up with 3 sentences. And the 3 sentences, turns out, that's what I started my whole book on. I kept building. Next thing I know, I got a book. So those 3 sentences in the pony story called Still, those were my first 3 sentences ever.
Those were your first?
Those first 3 sentences in that story, the first 3 sentences I ever wrote.
Well, war games. Tell us about war games.
War games came pretty early too. That was, you know, we were living in an apartment. I was, you know, preschool, 6, 7 years old. I remember the back hall, army helmet, you know, canteens and stuff. So we were living in the afterglow, if you want to call it that, of World War II. I mean, looking back on it now, our society was post-World War II, and a lot of the things that I experienced and people my age experienced was because of the World War II
or
thing.
Korea, right?
No, it was World War II because I was born in '48, and so, you know, so it's 10 years later or whatever. But to give you an example, we lived in Watertown.
Yeah.
Watertown had the big arsenal.
I lived there, yeah.
Big arsenal. Well, when I was a kid, they still had the anti-aircraft gun set up.
They did? Well,
yeah, we'd drive by it, and it had the camouflage on it and everything.
Well, I was there in the 80s. No, that was,
Yeah, so I was very aware of the war. People my age were. And then, of course, the Russians were out there. Everybody was afraid of, you know, people were afraid.
Yeah.
And, you know, we used to duck and cover under our desks. So I don't know, that was, that just kind of popped out. I think I like the way that came out.
Gone fishing. What was that all about?
We used to drive from my father's farm down the road, and we'd go by this little stream, and off to the left was a big, not a big pond, a pond not much bigger than this room, but it was deep, and the brook came through the pond, and then it continued. So back in the olden days, they dug those. They were called fire holes, and so So when the tanker truck, back then they had tanker trucks, and when they go to a fire, they come by in the fire hole to fill it up. So they were deep.
Yeah.
So I went down there fishing. I walked from the house. You know, back in those days, you went wherever you wanted, you know, as a kid. I didn't have a bike at the time. I walked. So it was, you know, might have been a couple miles now that I think about it. But anyway, so I got there, I did my fishing, and I had my brother's hip boots, who was a year and a half older than I, and I was about 9 years old. And I was up on, if you picture that as the level of the water, I was up about this, you know, about that high on the gravel.
Yeah.
And I slipped into the water, and the boots filled up with water.
Oh, you were a sinker.
I could feel them filling up. I knew I had a problem.
Yeah.
And I just instinctively, I raised one foot, I caught it on a piece of gravel, or it would be this way, I caught it on the gravel, and the water came out of that boot, so I kind of had equilibrium, and then I did it with the other boot, and I got out. And I could have drowned, and the thing that bothered me the most about it wasn't like drowning. As I said in the story, nobody would have known whatever happened to me.
Nope. No, they wouldn't have known.
And that bothered me as a kid.
Definitely. It's scary.
Yeah.
I know my best friend and I were forbidden. We grew up in Wilbraham, and there was this, like, big, out in the woods, like, we called it the dump. But, I don't know, looked like, you know, there had been construction and they cleared it and there were big mountains of sand and not the place for two little girls to be out in the middle of nowhere.
No.
And we said, well, I don't care. So we went down there and suddenly this mysterious truck, this guy was driving down into the, we called it the pit. And I'm like, oh my God, we got to hide. So we hid behind some stuff. But he got out right in front of where we were hiding, got out and stood there. I'm like, oh.
You knew you were there?
I don't know. We'll never know. We were very lucky. He could have been a predator. He could have been anybody. He certainly wasn't someone our parents sent because we would have heard about it. I don't think we ever told our parents.
I was going to say,
we never did it
probably
again.
didn't share that.
We never did it again. It was
Yeah.
very. I know what that fear is. It's like, who's going to know? You know, it's going to take a long time.
That's right.
How do people get your book, Ray? And another thing, just saying, how do they get
It's
this?
on Amazon.
Okay,
Yep.
it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, yeah.
And you just appeared at the Sterling Library.
Yes.
Where else are you going to be yet?
Well, I've begun to reach out. I've got it in 3 libraries now.
Yeah.
Sterling, Lancaster, and Leominster.
Upton, that's the 4th.
And now Upton, that's great. So I'm hoping to do some library readings, and I'm approaching, I've got the book in one bookstore now in Littleton.
Yeah.
So I've,
What's that bookstore, Ray?
it's, you know, I don't know if I have the card with me. I'll send it to you. It's Wild something.
Wild, okay.
I'll look for it. I may have the card.
I hadn't heard of it. I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of them, but there are a lot of them. The little ones are popping up here
Yeah.
now. That's a great thing. I like that. Cafes, you know, a lot of authors, I send my authors to cafes, coffee places where they
Right.
sell donuts or, you know, that type of thing. But they also love to have authors come in and read.
I'd love to do that. I enjoy reading them.
Oh my God,
I
absolutely!
did a reading at the senior center, Sterling Senior Center. That was fun.
Senior centers.
It
Definitely.
it wasn't the whole scene. It was Dull Men's Group, was what they call it. It was about a dozen guys.
Yeah, we got that in Southborough. We've had them on the dull men's group,
What a name!
and
for
they're
a
not
group.
dull at all.
No.
They're a lot of fun. Did you
Yes.
grow up around here?
Harvard.
You grew up in Harvard.
Yes.
All your life.
No, I spent some time in Lowell
Yeah.
when I was in 3rd grade, 2nd and 3rd and 4th grade, and that was an experience.
Yeah.
Looking back on that, so born in Watertown, spent time in Lowell. My father always had a farm in Harvard. He had bought the farm right after the war,
Yeah.
and he always had that. And so, long story short, we wound up moving there when I was just going into the 5th grade.
Yeah.
But you know, we'd always go there, ride the ponies and stuff.
10
like
years
that.
old, 5th grade. I think it's 10, not 10 years old.
Yeah, so we moved in. Yeah, I was going into 5th grade that fall.
Just
when we
found
moved
out
there.
that Ray has a daughter, 27.
Yes.
My son just turned 27 on May 6th. That's the date of the royal baby that just came. The
Oh, they just had a baby?
Oh, yeah, on May 6th.
Last year.
No, this year. Just this past
Oh, I
week, she
missed
had the
that.
baby. The Meghan Markle and
okay.
Prince Harry there.
I don't keep up with that like I should, probably.
Well, I don't think most of the guys do. But do your daughter? Did she just turn 27, or she'll be 28 this year?
July
She'll be
18th.
she'll be 28 or 27.
You know, I hope I get this right. We're going to have to probably doctor this up. I think she's turning 28 this
Okay.
year.
Well, you know what? There's not a whole lot of difference there. I kid my son. I said, you know, you're just getting old. I remember when I was like 27. The world was so different, right? I mean, there was funness to it. You could try something. You didn't have to worry
Yeah.
about walking out at night where you were.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I mean, he lives in the heart of Worcester. I think he's nuts. I wouldn't want to be around all that.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm going to walk and
Yeah.
doesn't need a car. I can just walk, maybe take the bus.
You have
Ah.
one or two, you said?
One.
One.
You know, he's 10 kids rolled into one.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And you have a son who's in his 30s.
Yes.
So you got both. That's good. You got both.
Yeah. He's 38. I know I got him right.
You got him
I
right.
think I have my daughter right too. It's 11 years difference. I think I got it right.
When you went, and this again, we're talking with Ray Tatten, and another thing, just saying, when you went to the writers group and you all went around and you kind of shared what you wanted to write about, maybe, were you nervous? Kind of like, what are they
No.
going to say? No,
No,
no.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
In fact, once I got something written, like the class is tomorrow night. So once I get something written, I look forward to reading it.
Yes.
That's more fun than writing it.
Yeah. It's like you're another person reading what you wrote.
Yeah, I don't get nervous at all. In fact, when I was doing the readings, somebody that I know very well, a teacher in the writing, she was there, and afterwards she goes, "You didn't look nervous at all." And I said, "You know, you don't get nervous talking about your stuff."
No.
I didn't find it so. Maybe.
What did your family think about your book?
They were very enthusiastic and surprised. I would have to say surprised.
Yeah.
Because
they never thought you'd write a book?
No, they said, what did you wait so long for? And I had no idea what the reaction was going to be. I did it for myself.
Yeah.
To hold it, like I said.
Yep.
And I started getting some, you get your friends all of a sudden, they tell you it's good and all that, and your relatives, they want to have it just because you did it. But then I get people saying, people I don't even hardly know that, I had someone stop me in the library one day, and she kind of walked by and she said, "Hey, I read your book." I was like, "Good, that sounds good."
Yeah.
And I had to, I'll share this with you. This really excites me. I had a person at a group I'm in, and he bought the book, and a few other people did. So the next week I saw him. He said, "Well, I read your book." He said, "I read every night before I fall asleep," he said. So I read my regular stuff, and then I reached for your book just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
He goes, "I read the whole thing."
He loved it. He did it in one night, right?
He said, "I read the whole thing."
Yeah.
Now, I've had 8 people tell me they've read it in one sitting.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and
I guess I must be slow.
No, that's what I said. I can't read it in one sitting.
No. You've got some excellent pictures in here. Let me tell you. Did you take these pictures?
Yes. Yeah. A couple of them, that's the old truck. Yeah.
The war games.
I didn't take that picture. There's a few that...
Gone fishing. Is that your gear? Is that your gear? Or
that's my gear now. But,
okay, tell us about Finding Trouble. Another chapter.
That's a true story. I remember my father was quite a character, and on the farm we had some adventures. So somebody bought a pony, wanted it delivered Christmas Eve to surprise his son.
Yeah.
So off we go in the truck, and we go to some place in Vermont. Drove for hours because they didn't have highways back then, and we got there, and the man had built a nice stall in his cellar. Can you imagine?
You can't put a horse in a cellar.
You imagine building a stall in your cellar? So he had the bulkhead. He had a ramp on the bulkhead. So he had worked this. So here I am, an 8-year-old kid, grew up with horses, and so my father goes, he looks at me, and he said, "What do you think?" Right?
Yeah.
And I said,
"No,
Dad, we can get him down here, but I don't think they'll ever get him out. Because the bulkhead and the ramp."
How did they think the horse was going to get?
I don't. People get pets and stuff.
They thought the pony would stay. Was it always going to be a small pony, or was it going to grow?
Yeah, it was a small pony, but he would never go. He probably would never gone up that ramp without somebody pushing him. But anyway, so what are we going to do? So he had an old broken down woodshed or something out back falling down. We went out there and fixed it up, made a nice little house for the pony, and then it started snowing, and on the way home it was like a blizzard, and you couldn't see the road. My father's like, I remember he'd drive, and he was smoking the cigarette, driving, and I wrote in the story, that was like, the truck was cold, the motor, the heater barely kept up with back then, an old truck. We got home though, and the next morning I woke up. It was Christmas morning. I woke up the next morning. I looked out the window, and you could the truck was in the yard where we had stopped, and you could just barely see the imprint of the tires behind it, the wheel that had come because it kept snowing.
But you had a horse trailer behind that.
No, it was a truck. It was in the back of a truck. He had a truck, and
you put that horse that you delivered the pony in the back of the truck.
That's how we got the horses around back then.
So so you helped that guy build a place that day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how'd you do that in a day?
Well, we didn't build it from scratch. He had a broken down woodshed and it had a roof on it and stuff. So we, fixed it so the horse could get in there and made it livable for the horse. So, but it took a few hours.
Didn't this guy realize that horses need to be out in nature?
He didn't realize. He just knew he wanted to get his son a pony, and he was. But I often wondered.
Yeah.
You know, the boy got up the next morning, that Christmas morning, and found the pony. He must have been delirious. But it was funny. But
yeah, and it's a good thing you guys made it back safely. You went from Vermont. What part in Vermont did you go to from?
I don't know. When I was a kid, I don't know. But I know we went up through Keene and over to the left. So it wasn't way up, but it was in Vermont.
So you went up you were in Lowell or Lancaster? Where were you?
We were in Harvard at the time, so we went up through Fitchburg and over.
Keene and then over.
Route 13, over, up and then over. That's as much as I remember, but, you know.
To a kid, it's a big deal.
Yeah, we're driving for hours in the truck.
Did you have to stop for the horses to do its thing?
No, they didn't ask to go. They just went.
Oh, my God. Ray, again, how can people get a hold of your book? And another thing, just saying. How can they get a hold of it?
Just go on Amazon. It's on Amazon. There's also an e-version of it.
Oh, okay. Those of you who want to go...
Yeah. The e-version actually is... a lot of people like e-versions better. I don't, but some people do, I guess.
I don't like it.
But the pictures are in color on the e-version, which is kind of cool.
Did you pick out your... Well, that's one of the beauties of self-publishing. You get to pick out your own covers.
Well, you want me to tell you the story on that? Okay, you're going to like this. So, when my wife saw that I was really down the road with this, I said, I'm picking out my cover. She goes, what are you going to do? And I showed her the picture. Yeah. She's like, you're not putting that on the cover of a book.
Why not?
That wasn't the picture.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, she goes, you're not using that. I'm like, that's all I have. I only have a few pictures of myself. She goes, come on, I'll take your picture. So we went around the house looking for a good spot with the right light and all that. We wound up out on the porch, on the deck in the back.
But this looks like a beach behind.
Yeah, well, that's just Photoshop.
Oh, okay.
So we're out on the deck, and she goes, I had this shirt on, obviously, and she goes, where's your fleece? And I'm like,
where's your what?
Fleece.
Fleece, your jacket?
Fleece. Yeah, the cover.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wear all the time. And I go, I'm not wearing, she, get your fleece. So I go in the house, I come back out, she goes, where's your hat? I'm like, get your hat. So she designed the whole thing, took the picture, and
she's sharp.
I've had a lot of comments about the picture. Somebody pointed out I didn't give her credit for the picture, so I'll have to do a revision.
Well, it looks like it's been professionally done, let me tell you, because I was looking out the window to see if you were coming. I said, I bet that's him.
That's probably him.
Yeah, and then this one in the back.
Yeah, my son took the one on the back a long time ago. Probably, I think that's 10 years old, the one in the back.
You got to get out there, Ray. Come on. This is your first. My God, what's coming? What's on the docket for what's coming? Are you starting to do more?
Well, I've got a historical fiction.
Hysterical fiction?
Historical fiction,
yeah.
Which is about a 16-year-old boy who was kidnapped along with his father and a gentleman from Marlborough, from Lancaster. It's a true story, so I did the research on it, and I was thinking, what could it have been like to be a boy captured by Indians, and they lived there for 2 years. He lived for 2 years in Canada. Yeah. Indians took him to Canada. Native Americans took him to Canada, and he stayed there for 2 years. And I was thinking, what must that have been like? Yeah. You know, a lot of the people that were kidnapped back then, the kids, they didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
And so I wrote it with that in mind, with my imagination. And I've got that all done. I've had it through, gone back to Seven Bridge Writers Collaborative. They have critique groups where you can bring your works in progress and work on. So had a lot of people working on it with me, spent a lot of time on it. So I think either that, and then I was going to do that as my next book because it's ready, but then people keep saying no. The other book I have is called Willie. Like in the story about Gone Fishing, the boy is named Willie. That's me, but I named him Willie, and so the adventures are. So the book is called Moving Willie, and it's about his time on the farm when he was 8 and 9, and the time in Lowell. So there's different episodes there.
Well, the more you get out about your first book, get out and about this, that gives people a chance to get to know the author. Okay, they get to know you. And then you can always say after your presentation, book signing, like, and by the way, I have this coming, so here's my pass out your cards, your flyers, whatever it is, and here's how you can get a hold of me. And it should be out in, maybe about that time. But this is your first shot at it, self-published. Your wife took a fantastic picture. It looks like a professional job. Yeah. And it does look like a beach in the back.
Yeah, that looks like anywhere, any beach, maybe Maine or something. It could be any beach. Yeah.
Now, and your kids? Are they interested in writing too? You've got kids about my son's age.
They're not. My son is an actor and a musician.
Okay.
And my daughter's a nurse.
Yeah.
She's going to her grad school now online. She's going to be a nurse practitioner.
Oh, wow, that's great.
So that's great. Yeah.
Now, you lived in Lancaster, right?
No, lived in Sterling. Grew up in Harvard. Lived in Sterling the last 30-plus years.
Didn't you mention Lancaster or something?
Well, that's where I go to the library for the writing group.
Okay, my son went to a private school up there in Lancaster. There was an old turkey farm opposite it on the road up there. Somewhere. It was a while back.
I wonder what school that was.
Robert F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, Action League.
The Action League, yeah. We sent him there to see if maybe they could help him focus on what he wanted to do and study.
Good, yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
He went. I liked that school.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. My friend lives across the street.
It's an old campus. It used to be. It went everything from a woman's. The women that were having babies there or something, and for them to go in those days, they'd hide it under the rug.
Yeah.
I think, wasn't it at one point an
industrial school
for girls and a mental health asylum? It ended up as a.
I don't
there's
know
some
that.
people were born. There's a mysterious graveyard out back. Oh, it's got stories.
Oh.
But now those buildings are used as the. Not the dorms. The dorm is fairly new, but the old buildings are used for classes. And I remember going, Wally's showing me, all the different things. But, so, if you got to go to one of those schools, it's a nice campus.
So he got a lot out of it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think he hated anything that was private or school. I don't know. I really don't know. Probably he would rather have stayed home and winged his way through public school. But that just wasn't working out well.
Mom was doing everything she could to give him a running start, right?
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
But it takes them a while to realize that you weren't punishing them. You would say, this looks like it might work for you.
Yeah.
Help, people learn a different way.
Yeah.
He's a hands-on kid, and if he's focused, get out of the way.
Yeah.
But in public school, there isn't a whole lot of time for that. If they're not interested in something, they're just going to go.
Yeah.
One of those highly focused types.
Yeah.
Or he'll tell the teacher, you're not doing it right. He'll walk out of the room. That's my Wally.
Just have to find what he's interested in doing. That's the key.
Exactly.
Right?
A lot of hands-on science. Loved science, hands-on. Now, again, before we close, we got a couple of minutes. Raymond Tatten. And another thing, just saying, as soon as I got this in the mail, I'm like, this guy, he's got it down. A first book, believe it or not. Are you promised you're going to get yourself out there with this? Because you've already seen people like it.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just haven't really focused on doing it.
Well, you can go downstairs to the Upton Town Library, and in the back we have a dedicated local authors wall. Don't miss it. There'll be a copy down there, right?
Yep.
You promise?
Yep.
All right.
I have
now,
one with me. Yep.
For the next one coming up, when do you think the next one's going to come out? Your second one.
That's a good question.
We'll take a guess.
I don't know, a few months maybe.
Months? That's it?
Yeah, it won't take long. It's all written. It just has to be formatted, do a cover.
Well, your wife sounds like an excellent photographer.
Yeah, she hit that one well.
She got
That's
this
good.
well, right out of the ballpark.
She really did a nice job. I get a lot of comments on the cover.
Ray, one last time, how can they get a hold of your book?
Amazon. Go on Amazon, you can get the e-version or the paperback, and I've got it all recorded. I've read all the essays, so I'd have to get that assembled, put that up on Amazon as well. That'll be available.
You got it down, Pat. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to see more of you because you've got more coming, right?
I do. It's fun.
For the first shot out of the gate, I am totally amazed. This is fantastic. You probably didn't even know you were going to be a writer years ago. What did you do for a job?
I am still doing it, by the way. I sell copiers. I work for a company called Axion Business Technologies. Yeah. We sell copiers.
So Canon would be like your competitor?
Canon's a competitor. And I've been doing that. It'll be 40 years in December.
You never left.
Well, I changed jobs, and so I stayed with the industry because that's what I know.
So you're a sales rep? You travel?
I've been a manager most of the time.
Yeah.
The last several years I've been a dedicated, what they call it, higher education, just calling on colleges.
Yeah.
And now I'm more of a generalist. I can pretty much go anywhere I want.
So you're not going to retire at all. That's it.
I haven't figured out how to do it.
No. Well, you're a baby boomer. I hear you. And we don't do it. Thank you, Ray, for being
Thanks
with
for
us.
having me. This was fun.
All righty. We'll see you next time and be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream.